Hi, I'm Louanne Midgley with Tell Your Story Videos, and this is Shop Talk. Today I'm going to be speaking with Shelley D'Amico. She is the owner of Namaskar Yoga in Parksville, BC, and Shelley's story is one that is truly inspiring and transformative. Shelley, I am so looking forward to speaking with you. Shelley, tell me how you became the owner of an award-winning yoga studio in Parksville, BC. Describe the journey that brought you to Vancouver Island and running your own business there.
Well, truthfully, it was a broken heart that made me leave Toronto, move 3,000 miles away. The breakup came quite suddenly. It was very unexpected. And I was just so grief stricken that I had this uncontrollable urge to flee and, just start my life over again from the bottom. At that time, I had felt, and again, at that time, this was 10 years ago, I had just felt so completely shattered, and I just needed time away to figure out who I was outside of that relationship. And one of the things I did, to help manage my grief was I went to yoga every single day. And thank God it was hot yoga, because no one could tell the difference between, the sweat running down my face or tears. And there were tears all mixed in together. And I showed up every single day. And eventually what I realized was, after a while, going to yoga and being in that practice for the hour or the hour and a half that it was, it came to a point where I wasn't stuck in my head, continuously replaying that loop of everything that I did wrong and all the mistakes I made. It was the only time in the day that I was actually at peace in my mind. And so I just kept showing up. And then a few years later, I resigned from a very soul-crushing job. I worked in the corporate world for 25 years, and it just got to a place where I just couldn't do it anymore. So I resigned, and then I ended up struggling with my loss of identity. So now, after 25 years, I have no title, I have no office, I don't even have a paycheck, but what I do have is lots and lots of time. So once again, I went to yoga every single day, and I cried and I cried and I cried. But eventually, I realized that, my inner voice, my inner critic, it became softer. It became a little bit more gentle, a little bit more compassionate. And that actually reflected on how I interacted with people, with other people. So before yoga became an integral part of my life, I was very shy. Well, I shouldn't say was, like I still am shy, but it was to the point where I wouldn't make eye contact with strangers, and I would do everything in my power to make myself invisible. And then, consistent practice. And that's the thing about practice, is it doesn't change what's happening outside of you, right? Most of those things we can't control. But what it does change is it changes what's happening on the inside of you. So all of a sudden, I became this person where I'm a little bit more outgoing. I'm not so afraid, to put myself out there and smile and say hello to a complete stranger. So a few months later, my yoga teacher, she approached me and she told me that she was doing yoga teacher training, and she asked if I wanted to do it. And I said, yes, of course. And so I did, and I became a yoga teacher. And, I'd like to say, and the rest is history, but it wasn't quite like that. It doesn't happen overnight. I, I knew after I completed my training, I knew that one day I wanted to have my own yoga studio, because I had worked, in a few different yoga studios, and I'm very fortunate that I got to see and learn a lot. And I would always say to myself, I'm never going to do that at my studio, or when I have my studio, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. So about a year later, everything that I had, I invested everything that I had, and built this studio. And lots of times, definitely, lost some sleep and thought, oh my God, what am I doing? I have no idea what I'm doing. But over the years, it seems to have just, I don't know, it's almost like magic. I know it's blood, sweat, and tears, but when I look back, it's almost like magic how everything just unfolded, even though I didn't necessarily know how it was going to happen.
How did your private practice eventually influence your approach for your business?
So practicing yoga is not the same as teaching yoga, and teaching yoga is not the same as running a business, a yoga business. For me, it's church and state. And, what I mean by that is, I can practice 10 times a day. I can meditate 20 times a day, and I can feel very zen all day long. But that doesn't change my business model. And no matter what, numbers don't lie. So when I'm teaching, when I'm in the room, that is one aspect, and I'm in flow and I'm not thinking about anything else. And then when it comes to business, it's time for business. And, like any business owner, you have to pay attention. Otherwise, what's the point? And what I will say is that yoga, it definitely helps to alleviate the stresses that come with being a business owner, because even in the best of times, it's challenging no matter what.
So what's your mission and your philosophy for your studio?
So my mission is to help people understand that yoga is for anybody. It's for everybody. I think there's a misconception around what yoga is, what yoga teachers or who yoga teachers are, and what yogi people should be like. And at the end of the day, there are so many teachers, there's so many different styles of yoga. It's just a matter of finding one that resonates with you. I wouldn't consider myself to be your typical yoga teacher. I love to blast my music so loud. I love to make my students laugh. And, I've even cursed in class. I think that makes me relatable. I think people see that, I'm authentic, right? Sure, I'm, kind and nice and peaceful, but, I'm still human and I have my bad days too. So, I want everyone to understand that, if you can breathe, you can do yoga. And as far as my philosophy, my philosophy is really, truly is gratitude. That's one of my core values, not just for me personally, but for the business. Our first core value is gratitude. So grateful for everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, because no matter what's happening, you have the choice. You can look at what you do have and focus on all the goodness that you have. And we have so much goodness, instead of, getting caught up in all the things that we don't have. So gratitude, definitely my philosophy.
That certainly would help for people to come into your practice to know where to start, perhaps. Describe a little bit about the people who come into your studio. What are they seeking and wanting from yoga? And why did they choose your studio?
So I've been so blessed to have so many clients come through my doors, everything from, my youngest client was 6, my oldest client 91, and I've had everything in between. I've had people from different countries, different provinces, all ages, all genders, both male and female. And even here, I'd say the ratio for, men and women, 60-40. So we've got a lot of men out there too. Sometimes, I'll teach a class and there are more men than women in the studio. And, I think that's fantastic. Most of the time, I think that people are coming in for the physical aspect. So they're coming in because they want more flexibility, or they want more mobility, or, weight loss. And I think that they are genuinely surprised at how they feel afterwards. They leave and they feel a little bit more calm and a little bit more relaxed. And all of a sudden there's this space that wasn't there before. And I'd like to believe that that's what keeps them coming back.
Oh, that's great. I'm loving that age range. That's fantastic.
I had a teacher who retired just over a year, well, yeah, a couple of years ago now, year and a half, and she was 70.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fabulous. Just one last question here. What you are also passionate about something else, and that something else is wine. Tell me a little bit more about this passion, Shelley, and why you think it's a good pairing with yoga.
So, it's funny because long before I became a yoga teacher, I thought that I would open up a wine bar, truth be told, and, here we are kind of thing. Um, but my passion with wine is, I love learning about it. I love learning about the different grape varieties, the regions, how it's made. For me, wine isn't just about, this alcoholic beverage. It's history, it's geography. And when I think about, pairing, yoga with wine, I'm not talking about, having a class where you sit in between poses. I think, that might be a little bit dangerous and a lawsuit waiting to happen. But when I think about bringing wine and yoga together, I see yoga lovers, people who love to do yoga. And I see yoga lovers who are also wine lovers, right? And you can absolutely be both. And I look at it as bringing this, a very unique group, if you will, together to experience practicing together for certain. And then later after to experience wine tasting. And wine tasting itself, it's not about slamming back bottles and getting hammered. It really truly is about using your senses, sight, smell, taste, to determine what's in the glass. And especially if it's a blind tasting, now you're looking for clues. You're smelling your wine and you're tasting it and you're trying to figure out, oh, is this from a hot climate or a warm climate? Is it old world? Is it new world? And then you become like this detective. And I think that for me, that's the hook, because now my brain is engaged.
Oh, I love it.
It tastes good. And I love the homework when the teacher says, okay, you got to drink and taste. Okay, I'm there. Straight A student.
I love your personality. I love how it's just like, let's do this, let's do yoga, and then we're going to taste some wine afterwards, everyone.
Yeah, wine, well, to me, it's meant to be shared. There's no doubt about that. It is meant to be shared, and it brings people together. And I love that, right? Yoga does the same thing. In my mind, sure, you can practice solo, but when you bring it together, there's an energy that's created, and it creates this whole experience that ultimately I think it ends up changing you inside, not worried about the outside.
Beautifully said. Well, thank you so much for coming on to Shop Talk, Shelley. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I hope to someday soon get over to the island and meet you in person and do some yoga, sip some wine. Sounds like a plan.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time and for having me on. And this has been really fun.
Great.